So let's talk about somebody else. This is a company that I worked with. They are a property management company. I was training some of their folks. We had the same discussion about mission statement. And the guy who was writing my paycheck came up to me afterwards and he says, "Can we talk about this mission statement a little bit?" I said, "Sure. What's your mission statement?" He goes, "I just had my second in command write one, and I think it's terrible because nobody understands it. I want you to help us develop a new mission statement." So we pulled in a sample of residents that were this is an apartment complex. We pulled in the leadership team. We pulled in the employees. We did a program called Start, Stop, and Continue. And we had everybody. None of the bosses were in the room. So you had full reign to say whatever you wanted to say, which was always fun. What should we stop doing? What is driving you guys crazy? What should we get rid of? What's a waste of time and resources? They told us. What should we start doing? What have you heard about at other properties that you think is pretty cool? What do we need to continue? What are we doing well? We identified all these sort of things. We then took the leadership team and put them in a room. And I sat back and actually kind of munched on the munchies. And they put together this mission statement, which I think really points out what we're talking about for inspirational leadership, not just effective, not just all about the job. South Sands is a property management company dedicated to creating inspired communities. The IKEA, the Nordstrom, the Tesla mission statement model would say this works. We're a property management company dedicated to creating inspired communities. That's what we're here to do. Good for you guys. But what they didn't say was we're dedicated to building ghettos. We're here to maximize our profit and minimize expenses in creating residential buildings. Okay, that would be a mission statement that would tell you something, that every shortcut you can take, save money as much as possible. If we can undercut code, go ahead and do it. Well, that's not what South Sands is about. They're dedicated to creating inspired communities. For who? By delivering the finest experience to our residents, and here's the kicker, and our team members. They're not just concerned with the guys paying the rent. They're concerned with not only the guys paying rent, because that's why they're there, but the team members, the leasing managers, the office manager, the admin managers, the maintenance crew, all the people that are repairing all those. They were just as important as the residents. And this follows Richard Branson's philosophy. Richard Branson, the originator and the founder of Virgin Airways, has a very short quote. He identifies the most important people in a business. And who do you think he says is the most important people for any business?
The workers, the foot soldiers.
The foot soldier. You would think he says the customers, but he doesn't. He says if you take care of the people on your team, they will take care of the customers. And that's exactly what happens at South Sands Management, because they take care of their staff. They have staff living on the premises. If something breaks at 11:30 at night, it's not, well, we'll fix it tomorrow. It's maintenance guys there within 15 minutes to get it fixed. And that's the way they work, and they don't complain about it. They see that as a huge source of pride. And they do that by efficiently operating our properties with resident center focus. We're focused on the residents, generating a carefree lifestyle. We want to have fun. They have parties about every Friday over there. But again, here's the kicker. While seeking to grow personally and professionally. And that's why they hire me to come in. And I'm very, very pleased that they do that. But that's the type of mission statement we're talking about, that not only focuses on the mission to make South Sands and Coquina Cove, their apartment complex, a great apartment complex, but as importantly, we want to develop the people that are working on our team. That's part of the mission. Imagine going to work for a company like this. Imagine changing your position or whatever, or when you go to hire and you read the mission statement, the boss says, the first thing I want you to read is our mission statement. And you're reading that they're as concerned about you doing your job as they are about the paying customers. That's a pretty good feeling. So let's talk about one more mission statement. This one is great. This is a mission statement that you've probably heard before. It is the mission statement of our nation. This is the mission statement for our country. Does anybody know what that is? And boy, I tell you, I should have a prize for anybody who knows this. That's okay. We don't have to waste a lot of time on it. You've all heard it before. It's the Constitution of the United States, and it's the preamble of the Constitution. Just to remind you what it is, because I'm sure you had to take a test on this at some point in time in middle school. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Okay, we all had to memorize it in 8th grade. But look at it when it comes down to the integral parts of any mission statement. Who? We the people. That's who we're talking about. We the people of the United States. That's our first element of the mission statement. What do? In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. That's what we're here to do. Who do we do it for? Ourself and our posterity. Everybody that comes after us. That's who we're doing this for. Specifically, what do we provide? We ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. It is the perfect mission statement. It encompasses all of the elements, and you can take a look at this regardless of what your political bent is. And you can take a look at something that's happening today in current events, in government, with respect to COVID, the shutdown, Ukraine, Russia, I don't care what it is, and see where it fits in here. And you can see whether or not our mission statement is being followed. And I'll just leave it at that point. But the thing about mission statements is they should be the document, the thought that helps you decide when you come to that decision point. If you're looking at a decision and you're deciding which way to go, if you have a solid mission statement like this, you can look at it and you can say, does this direction apply to our mission statement, or does this direction? And if one direction doesn't apply to the mission statement, what should you do?
Change your mission statement.
You might change your mission statement, or you might change your course of action. You might say, well, wait a minute, and I'll get controversial here, but just as an example, we're in a shutdown right now. Well, wait a minute. They said that we should be able to enjoy the blessings of liberty. Wouldn't that apply to doing this that I want to do? Maybe they shouldn't stop me from doing that if that's part of our mission statement. See how it can come together? But you're right, Jeffrey. Change your mission statement. Mission statements are not written by God and handed down on tablets on the top of a mountain somewhere. We should periodically go back and look at mission statements and say, are we following this mission? And if we're not, do we need to change our direction, or do we need to change our mission statement? Do we have something in our mission statement that acknowledges that 50% of our job is to develop the people on our team? Most mission statements don't, but usually very good mission statements will have something in there that includes the importance of developing the people that we're working with.
Hey, Rick, I have a question.
You bet, Zach.
In your experience, what moves companies away from their mission statement?
Wow, that's a good question.
Leadership and enforcement, or is it, what's your opinion or experience in that?
So are we assuming that the mission statement is valid and it's the way they want to go?
Correct.
And why aren't they doing that?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to show an example here in a little bit, but it's a really good question. Does anybody have any thoughts on that as to what would make a company get away from their mission statement with their behavior?
Pandemic.
A pandemic might. It's a different situation. That might make you say, well, we need to get, you should be able to go to church. We believe in that. However, we have an situation here. So maybe we need to kind of move away from the mission statement for a few months. That's a great point. What else?
Sometimes it's the executive director's ego.
It can be an ego. Maybe they come in, the executive director is the boss. He doesn't like the mission statement. So he doesn't go that direction.
Right.
Maybe they need to look at changing the mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it should be a critical document. And Zach, it might even be economics. Hold that question because I think it may come up here in a little bit. Again, we talked about mission statements, the ineffective boss, There's a mission statement somewhere, but I'm not really sure what it is, or I don't buy it. So we just keep it in the book. But we have to publish it in the company report every year. The effective leader is they're going to have a mission statement. People are going to know what it is, and it's going to relate to getting the job done. That has to be done. But it may or may not, and usually doesn't have anything to do with the people on the team and their development and their inspiration. But Blue Lobster leaders combine both mission and welfare. Mission always comes first, but your people never come second. Sometimes that can be a balance. And to answer your question again, Zach, those two might come into conflict. I use a combat example, but it irritates people. I use it anyway, but I'm not going to use it here. I'm going to use a different example of something that, Zach, you may be familiar with. Zach, what are we looking at?
It looks like a breaker box room or electrical room.
Electrical room or motor room, Doc. They say in the caption here, this is from 06. Zach, I've been trying to explain this earlier to Liz to make sure I got it right. And she says, you know, just enough to be dangerous. Is this like my circuit breaker box in the garage?
By 1,000 at a minimum.
Okay, so it's like a great big circuit breaker box, right? This is some plant somewhere, I'm sure, I guess. But all of us have a shopping center that has 7 or 12 stores not far from our home, right? Would a small shopping center have something of this magnitude, or maybe a smaller version of this with all the power that they use?
Any commercial building's going to have an electrical room, not to this magnitude. This is something that looks like it would be inside of a plant somewhere.
Yeah. So this is a big one with a lot of power going through this. It's a lot bigger than the circuit breaker box in my garage, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't do electricity. Okay, that stuff bites. I don't go messing around with that circuit breaker box except to flip switches. But if I wanted to install another switch, actually, we just had a water heater put in, and to bring it up to code, they had to bring in a hard wire and all this sort of thing. Not knowing electricity, Zach, would you recommend that I go in and take that cover off that breaker box and start farting around with switches?
If Liz has suggested that, tell her no.
Oh, thank you.
Especially if she's updated your life insurance recently.
Funny you should mention that. But no, I wouldn't go out there and take that thing. And this is several, maybe 1,000 times greater than that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a guy over here, and he's coming into the room. As you can see, he's got jeans on, short sleeve shirt, no hat, probably no eye protection, maybe glasses. And he's walking around inside this breaker box room. Any problem with that?
Not right now, no.
No, not right now. Okay, if you watch what he's going to do here. Okay, well, now he's stopping. So he's apparently not just passing through. He's got some task to accomplish, doesn't he? He's got a mission to accomplish. Again, serious question. Okay, he's looking at something. Do you have any idea what he'd be looking at?
Typically in those panels, those are kind of like the switches in your breaker box. So if you flip the switch, that's typically what those panels will do.
Okay.
It looks like he hears a noise.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe he's sensed something wrong in there or something. Okay. So he's going, well, there's something weird. So let's progress it a little bit. Yeah, there's something going on here. What's happening here? Didn't really touch much. He touched the cap. Uh-oh. What happened?
Lights
Probably
went off.
did, and he created an arc flash.
Arc flash. Tell me what an arc flash. Tell us what an arc flash is, Zach.
It's just when electricity becomes in contact or in arcs like an explosion.
Okay.
In contact with a foreign surface that causes an arc. It can be dust or metal or just an ignition source.
Okay. So now we're looking at a bunch of pretty sparklers here, right? That's just what that is. It's like, somebody has a sparkler and they set off. Is that the type of thing that we're seeing happen here?
Typically, those types of events are 3 to 5 seconds, give or take, and can be up to 10 times hotter than the surface of the sun.
It can be what?
Up to about 10 times hotter than the sun. It'll liquefy anything in its path, including solid surfaces like steel and metal.
Okay, so this little guy, this little man, is in his short sleeve shirt, no protection. Okay, was he doing his job?
If he works there, maybe.
He probably was. It's a good chance he was doing his job. What's the problem here?
He wasn't
Went
following
out.
a safety protocol.
Yeah, Madeline, what's protocol might have been in place? And our VF people deal with this. They deal with fire resistant. They deal with the protective gear that
Right.
would have protected this guy from a lot of injury.
Mhm.
How could you have changed policies to make this happen, to make this a safer situation? What can you do to maximize his welfare, even if it does happen? What about in terms of equipment, VF guys?
Wear the proper PPE.
It's the new word that everybody knows after this pandemic. Everyone knows what PPE is.
That's true. Personal
Exactly
protective equipment, right?
Prior to that, nobody knew.
Yeah, but this guy didn't have it on. Why do you think he didn't have that on?
Mainly, I think it's because most of the time you get comfortable in a position, you become numb to the dangers and the task of an everyday job.
This guy's wandering inside a circuit panel room that has the potential to generate temperatures 10 times hotter than the surface of the sun. I'm sure there's a warning sign on the door that says caution high voltage, right? Okay.
Yes.
Maybe he shouldn't be wandering through there. Maybe the rule is you got to put your stuff on before you walk through here. Maybe don't walk through here, walk around the other way. There could be a lot of different things. But even when, and Zach, this brings up this question, this guy could have put on all the appropriate outerwear. He could have had on a helmet. He could have had on safety glasses, a face shield, FR outerwear. And how could he still have gotten into problems? What if he had come to work wearing his favorite little Under Armour shirt? Yeah.
Any synthetics would have melted into his skin. I think what people always forget is PPE isn't the elimination of the threat. It's to minimize the impact to the situation.
How often do you see employers that are focused on their mission but allow shortfalls like we just talked about?
Unfortunately, every day.
Every day it happens. Are there employers out there that want to get their employees melted by their shirts, that want to have stuff stuck to their head so when they pull the helmet off, it tears their scalp off? Are there employers that are trying to do that to people?
I don't think they're trying to do it. I think that it's the risk versus reward, the philosophy. Budgetary constraints will take over for the risk of the reward.
Mm-hmm.
What's the risk versus what's the reward?
Exactly. The reward is accomplishing the mission. Make sure you walk through the room, make sure you get this on. And maybe we do a little bit from the standpoint of keeping OSHA off our butts because we tell them they have to wear this material, but maybe we don't supervise it as well as we should. Maybe we don't check them and say, what are you wearing underneath? Maybe we don't have recurrent classes that say, this is what our standards are from the standpoint of safety. This is non-negotiable. You cannot wear Under Armour underneath this gear. That's no fun. That's Brussels sprouts, but that's management. Leadership is making sure you get it done. You adjust their behavior so they're wearing the right stuff. You know, as management, you make sure the stuff is available to them. However, whether it's through VF, getting deals, acquiring the fire-resistant material or outerwear, it's inspiring them through education that you guys provide in terms of what can happen in this type of situation. And then it's also developing them so they know how to teach other people how to do it. But that's what we're talking about when the mission comes first, but your people never come second. You have to put as much effort into training your people to so this doesn't happen. You'd hate to have this happen to an employee, but it still happens. We just watched it happen. There are 20 other videos I could have shown you. But this is what we're talking about, is the mission comes first. If you didn't want to get anybody hurt, you wouldn't be screwing around with power. Power can hurt people. And if your mission was to keep everybody safe, we just don't go in that room. Just don't go in there. I'll lock the doors. There will be no doors. But the mission requires people to be in there. If we're going to require that mission, if we're going to take that risk versus reward, as Zach mentioned, the next step is to do everything we can as leaders to make sure the welfare for that individual is taken care of. The example I used to use in combat was real simple. We're in a defensive perimeter. We're on the rock pile in Quezon in Vietnam. We got Viet Cong all around us. We have a mission to accomplish, and that's to provide fire support for troops all around us. If I want to keep everybody safe, first of all, I don't put them out there in the first place. But we've got to be there. We've got this mission. But I'm really worried about getting anybody hurt. That's my primary priority, so nobody leaves the wire. Nobody leaves this camp. Well, you can't do that because you've got to send out patrols. You've got to send out patrols into the jungle to find out what the bad guys are doing out there. And people can get hurt. But what you do is you make damn sure that they have the right equipment, they have the right weapons, they have the right fire support on call, they have the right maps and directions that they're going. You provide everything you can to ensure that safety. Sometimes things still go to hell, but you have to do everything you can as a leader to ensure the welfare of the people. And it's not just safety stuff. It's also the standpoint of development, of inspiring people. You might have the greatest employee in the world. I mean, if you lose this employee, if you lose this golf pro in the shack, if you lose this salesperson, you're going to have to train somebody new, and they will be nowhere near as good as the other person is. The mission always comes first, says, I'm not going to promote them. I can't afford to lose them. But leadership says, I'm going to make them as good as they can be so that they can move to something better. And then I'll train and I'll replace somebody and I'll make them better than the other person was. But that's what we're talking about from the standpoint of mission and welfare. Those two go hand in hand. You don't say, well, heck with the welfare of my people. I've got to accomplish the mission. No, we've got to do both. That's the nutshell thought of this session.